Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Elena Barbera. It is Friday night, December 6th. And oh, what a little show we have tonight. There's just so much absurdity going on in America, as if you didn't know that already, right? Like, duh. It's getting nuts up in this place. But one of my favorite things that happened today, I have to say, I know it's not nice to take pleasure in other people's misfortune, right? I mean, I'm trying to be a good Christian here, and but there's so many people who are just so dark and dirty and mean and evil that when they get their due, the humanity in me just shines and I take joy in it. I'm sorry. So Tanya Fernandez Anderson, who's a Boston City councilor who loves to brag about being the first illegal immigrant counselor. I don't think she's illegal anymore, obviously. Counselor, Muslim. I forget what other diversity boxes she checks, but black, she counts all these diversity boxes, and she loves to talk about that, and she's very race focused, and she is clearly hating on America, is all about non-citizens. She is one of the worst city councilors around. Earlier this year, it got leaked out of City Hall that the other councilors were afraid to even talk to her because she's just such a maniac who loses her mind all the time, and she's such a bully, and she accuses everybody of racism when they disagree with her on anything. So you might remember this. I have shared this before. This is a little clip of her in a city council meeting. This is how this chica conducts herself. It's really something. Check this out.
Do I have to do in this council in order to get respect as a black woman?
What the F do I have to do to get respect as a black woman? I don't know, maybe stop acting like you just got off the L train. Like you actually live on the L train. Maybe then you'll get some respect acting like that. Anyway, so today the feds came. Oh, here we go. This is her looking really sad as she was getting arrested this morning by the feds. It's cold in Boston. It stinks when they drag you out of your house early in your PJs because you're going to jail on corruption charges. It is the silliest stuff you ever heard. So, okay, Tanya Fernandez Anderson, who was mighty higher than all of us, mightier, high and mighty on her horse, thinks that she's better than everybody at all times and looks down on Americans and her fellow city councilors. High on power. She was broke, apparently. So she needed a couple of extra bucks. She was having money problems. So she hired a family member, an extended family member, not immediate. She lied and said it wasn't a family member, to be on her city council staff. And then what she did is she gave this person a $13,000 performance bonus, which was more than a whole rest of the staff's bonuses combined. So this one person gets the $13,000 bonus. This is so good. And then that person is supposed to give her a cash kickback. So so this other person then goes and makes a few withdrawals from the bank and gets $7,000 in cash. And they go and they meet in this city councilor, this is true. They meet in the bathroom in City Hall and make the exchange. And she takes the $7,000 in cash in the ladies' room. Now, I don't know if this other person is a man or a woman, because in Boston City Hall, everyone's allowed, it's free, free reign, anything goes there. So I don't know if it was a dude that went in the ladies' room or just another lady who is involved in this corruption, but she's being charged with wire fraud and theft. So Michelle Wu, who's an absolute nightmare of a mayor and a human being. She's probably by far the worst mayor Boston has ever seen, and Boston has seen its share of corruption. she's trying now to pretend like she cares about the law because Trump is coming into office. And all of a sudden she's starting to like be nice about the illegal immigrants and being like, well, we don't want to break the law. We're a city of laws. Yeah, right. You don't care anything about federal law. But now all of a sudden she does because she's afraid she's hearing the jingling of the handcuffs and she knows that Trump's coming for her. So she's calling for a resignation. Like any member of the community, Counselor Fernandez Anderson has the right to a fair legal process, but the serious nature of these charges undermine the public trust, as if there is any public trust anyway. It's just so laughable, the whole thing, and will prevent her from effectively serving the city. I urge Counselor Fernandez Anderson to resign. You should resign too, Michelle, you psychopath. Anyway, so Fernandez Anderson went to court today. She is going to be facing prison time. All right, let me read this. The charges of wire fraud each carry a sentence of up to 20 years in prison. I guess there were multiple wires that went on here across state lines. So that, I guess, I don't know if that's what made it federal. 3 years. So up to 20 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of up to $250,000. The charge of theft concerning programs carries a prison sentence of up to 10 years, 3 years of supervised release, and a fine of up to $250,000. So God, multiple counts of $250,000 fines, possibly. I mean, talking potential decades in prison. Will she do that? Probably not. They'll go easy on her. But I can't help but wonder, like, is this a bunch of honest people in the federal government who are like finally feeling like Trump's coming in, we can start doing the right thing and going after bad guys? We've been sitting on this evidence and now we can prosecute it. Or is this the Biden administration just being like, just throw somebody to the wolves so it makes us look good and makes us look honest, like, or because the whole thing that just happened with Hunter Biden. We know that Hunter Biden went through that whole trial and all those charges just so that with the intent of pardoning him all along, just so that they could say that, hey, nobody's above the law. We're fair. Look, we're prosecuting the president's son. So of course, going after Trump makes sense. It was all just a show. Is this a continuation of that show because people are mad about the Hunter pardon? Or are there some people in the federal government who are feeling good about the future? And is there going to be more of this? How many more Tanya Fernandez Andersons are we going to get to enjoy watching them fall? The high and mighty telling us that we Americans do everything wrong and we don't understand and we're cruel and horrible people. Meanwhile, she's stealing tax dollars in the bathroom. Oh, God, what a nut. What a nut. Oh, I love it. All right, let's move on from Tanya. Wait, let's just watch her video one more time because it's funny.
The do I have to do in this council in order to get respect as a Black woman?
Maybe not steal money in the toilet. Oh, God. No respect. She's getting no respect from me. Okay, so there's that. Then, of course, been talking about it all week. United States versus Skrmetti. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Obviously, unless you're living under a rock, you know what this is about. Tennessee makes a law banning gender-affirming care for children, all minors, and the DOJ, because, the White House and the federal government is a bunch of pedos. They go after Tennessee and say that you can't ban puberty blockers, sex change surgeries, and hormone therapies for children who are in the wrong body. So, legally speaking, it seemed during the hearings on Wednesday, when both sides get to give their oral arguments, that the Tennessee ban will be upheld. It really seems like the Supreme Court is going to do the right thing. But legally speaking, that they didn't really have as strong of a case as they thought they did. I don't even know how this got up that high, probably just because of the high profile and political nature of it. But there were some moments that were so absurd. So in their legal arguments, they bring in a lot of supporting evidence to try to bolster the argument around transgender care for children that, it's healthy and it's life-saving and it's all important and there's no questions about it. It's just awesome. One of the things that they talk about a lot is that it saves lives. It stops them from killing themselves. And Justice Alito had an interesting conversation about this. Check this. This is a segment from the hearing. And he is talking to a woman named Chase Strangio, who thinks she's a man, and she's a lawyer for the ACLU, who's fighting to make sure to, screw kids up permanently.
In every respect, but on page 195 of the CAS report, it says, there is no evidence that gender affirmative treatments reduce suicide.
What I think that is referring to is there is no evidence in the studies that this treatment reduces completed suicide. And the reason for that is completed suicide, thankfully and admittedly, is rare, and we're talking about a very small population of individuals with studies that don't necessarily have completed suicides within them. However, there are multiple studies, long-term longitudinal studies, that do show that there is a reduction in suicidality, which I think is a positive outcome to this treatment.
All right, so none of that made any sense. So first of all, basically he's saying, we have studies that show that suicide ideation is not reduced after transition. And she's like, well, that's because nobody killed themselves in that study. But we have other studies where nobody killed themselves too. Like, as if that, like, what are you even talking about? It's the same results. And just so you know, so when she was talking about completed suicide, when I first heard that, I thought she meant the difference between suicide attempts and successfully completed suicides. And I thought, wow, she's saying that, attempted suicide is fine, but okay, great, whatever. But no, then I started Googling completed suicide, and it turns out that it's some woke term. You know how now, instead of calling somebody homeless, we're supposed to call them unhoused? Which is just so ridiculous, right? So, because unhoused is so much more dignified. So apparently saying committed suicide, it has a negative connotation to it, because suicide itself doesn't have a negative enough connotation. So you can't say committed suicide because it makes them look like they did something wrong. Well, unfortunately, to everyone who loves somebody, when they commit suicide, yes, they something wrong, but like a sin, like a committing a crime. So they say completed suicide. So it's almost like a successful suicide. It's just this twisting of words that is so bizarro, like completing your master's degree and completing your suicide. Should we do completing homicide next? Anyway, that's what that was about, because the whole theme tonight is just absurdity. Everything is ridiculous. So that was that. That was from the CAS report, that they had to acknowledge that studies are showing that there's no difference in suicidality. Then we had Justice Sotomayor, who was talking to Matthew Rice. Matthew Rice is the Solicitor General in Tennessee, and he was defending the law banning the gender affirming care. And he comes in and he's talking about, benefits and risks to kids transitioning and the ones that are going to detransition, and how risky this is for kids who really, are just mixed up, to do this to them. And here's what she had to say.
Eliminate the risk of detransitioners. So it becomes a pure exercise of weighing benefits versus risk. And the question of how many minors have to have their bodies irreparably harmed for unproven benefits is one that is best left.
I'm sorry, counselor. Every medical treatment has a risk. Even taking aspirin.
Oh. So taking aspirin is now comparable to cutting off your Pishadil, whatever. So cut it off, cut off your boobs, shave down your Adam's apple, take hormones that can cause testicular cancer in boys, sterility, chemical castration, take hormones that will cause osteoporosis in girls. Those risks are all pretty similar to taking an aspirin. Not only are they in a completely different ballpark, okay? If aspirin was especially damaging to children, we wouldn't give it to children. And aspirin has been in America since like 1900. So we have like 120 years understanding the benefit risk ratio. And we know fully well that the risks are very low. Where all this Frankenstein science that we're doing experimentally on children has several years of study. And the study was sometimes look at the doctor in LA who hid the study, who had found out that the study came out and was like, oh, this isn't really helping kids. And she hid the study because she didn't want it politicized. So these studies on these children aren't honest, and they're created by people who stand to make a lot of money on these kids. And you're going to compare taking an aspirin to that, and you're a Supreme Court justice? Like, these are people making decisions that are going to affect our whole lives, that you can't even make that leap, that it's a tremendously different risk and reward. And we're talking about children here. So, I was so disgusted listening to some of these arguments. It was 2.5 hours of torture. But the good news is, again, they just help to make the case that none of this is real and okay. And then they were trying to make it like they're a protected class, that they're discriminated against. And it's not a sex discrimination case. It's based on age and appropriate use of the medicine. So then they're talking about becoming like I think it's called a quasi-suspect class, which is like a special, like the court can designate you like a special class. I'll make up a thing. Like, say you got green eyes and they want to just like discriminate against everybody with green eyes. Well, there's nothing you could do about that. That's an immutable, which means unchangeable factor. So you can't change the green eyes. So if you're being discriminated against, that's legitimate, right? But they're saying that now their transgender status, not identifying with the sex they were born with, is immutable and unchangeable. And Alito was like, Justice Alito was like, yeah, but like some of these people detransition, right? And then Strangio, the woman who thinks she's a man, was like, well, yes, that is true. He's like, well, then it's not immutable. So no, you're not, basically like destroying that discrimination based on you being a special class. So it was a really fascinating couple of hours. If you want to ever hear those oral arguments and let your brain smoke a little bit, if you're not a regular legal person, because I'm not either, listen to it. You can go to supremecourt.gov and listen to oral arguments from all kinds of other cases. And I listened to other ones last week just to kind of educate myself. I just had it on in the background. And it's interesting because these lawyers come, they make an opening statement, and then the justices all just chime in and ask questions, and it can get a little bit amusing at times. Sometimes there are little jokes and everybody laughs, like nerdy jokes. So I don't know, it's interesting. I recommend it for a high profile case like this. I might have to go back and, find some other big ones. I guess they're up there from like the 50s. They've been recorded since then. I wish they did video though, because I'd really like to see everybody while they're doing this. You can also go visit the Supreme Court. Just a fun fact, and listen. And if it's not a high profile case, it's pretty easy to get in and get a seat in the courtroom and listen to these types of proceedings. But most of the stuff that they do is dead boring. Like one of them I listened to was something about this like tiny like minutia in the Medicare law. It was like, obviously I wasn't listening that closely. What do we got here in the comments? Stop stressing, your hair will go gray. Too late. Okay, so while we're talking about absurdities and, this girl, Strangio, who goes by the name of Chase Strangio. I don't know what her original name was, maybe Charlotte or something. She thinks she's a boy, and she thinks that men can get pregnant because she thinks she's a real man. And this is what we're teaching kids. So I got this in the mail today, and I thought you guys would like to see it. This is a book for children called In My Daddy's Belly. Yeah, you can get this. I bought it. I bought this. I spent money. I'm going to read you just a couple little pages so you can see what they're filling little kids' heads with. In My Daddy's Belly by Logan Brown. Hello. I am not born yet, but I am already a lucky baby because I'm going to go this way. I have two daddies. I call them Daddy B and Daddy L. I don't know what's going on here, but this daddy is actually a mommy for sure because it's pregnant. And they think that's an actual daddy. So you don't have two daddies. They call me a miracle baby because I am growing in Daddy L's baby. What does this say? Wait, there's something little here. There's this little seahorse that pops up in the book all over the place that answers questions. Who are you excited to meet? None of these people. My daddies know this journey is very special and they are excited to meet me. I can't wait to meet them too. Daddies' friends and family were kind and supportive when they found out about me. I guess they're all, look at them with the blue hair, the pink hair. Yeah. This one's like, I just want to be able to see my grandchild. I don't really agree with any of this. This is completely freaking insane. Anyway, I'm going to skip ahead to the part here where together we will make the world a safe and welcoming space for everyone except Republicans. It doesn't say that part about Republicans, but we know that that's really kind of implied. I will wave flags to support all families. Everyone deserves to be safe and happy. And look, they've got a woman with her boobs cut off in the children's book. Because this is just what kids need, isn't it? More good stuff here. We can respect and educate each other. Love wins. I mean, I am proud of my daddies, and they are proud of me. In My Daddy's Belly, available everywhere, including in schools across America, because they're trying to normalize that men can get pregnant. But why not? Because they also have this board book called Bye Bye Binary, where you get to talk about how you're not a boy or a girl. Teach kids, just whack out their minds right from day one. Don't tell them about God. Don't tell them about the 10 Commandments. Do not tell them about Jesus, but tell them that they can be anything they want and they're not a boy or a girl. And science doesn't matter. What only thing that matters is whatever wackadoo stuff goes on in between the ears. We have the pronoun book so that everybody can learn about he, she, ze, zee, there. And like this one. This is what I spend my money on. Yep. Lost the mind. Grandpa's Pride. Now this one, it's about a kindergarten level. And this is for children who are especially interested in their grandparents' sex lives. Highly recommend. No, not really. It goes all into all these different, trans rights now, all these different events that this child is going to with grandpa so they can learn all about it. But did you see this one? This one, every kid needs to go to, there's a little light there, an event here where grandpa puts on an S&M outfit with his butt cheeks hanging out and a garter belt and leather undies in public. These are for kids. And these aren't like uncommon. I didn't have to go far or work hard to find these. And they are in schools across America. I mean, it's kind of funny. It would be funny if it wasn't so incredibly damaging to children. We are whacking out kids' heads. Oh my God. All right. Before I go, I just want to talk about one more thing. And this is also absurd, but in a different, frankly, infuriating sort of way. Jose Ibarra, Laken Riley's murderer. We thought maybe we were done with him. We thought maybe we weren't going to have to hear his name for a while. But no, we're back on Jose Ibarra because his lawyers And I don't know. You know what? I meant to look it up and I forgot before I came on tonight. I want to know, who are his lawyers? Who is paying for his lawyers? Are these public defenders? Are we just paying for all this? All right, you're gonna leave. You gotta leave. Okay. I just had to kick somebody out for saying creepy things that annoy me. Okay, so Ibarra's, and I don't normally censor people like for varying opinions or even mildly offensive things, but when you start to get creepy about me personally, you're out. Sorry, I'm a woman. I don't have to put up with a creepy guy shit. Sorry. Ugh. Anyway, however, so I don't know who's paying for this. I don't think he has money for private attorneys. I'm assuming it's public defenders being paid for by tax dollars. So his lawyers have requested a new trial because they said that the first one, which was a trial by judge, not a trial by jury, was faulty and the judge made mistakes. And they're saying that the lawyers that say that the fingerprint and DNA evidence analysis was unreliable, and they're trying to pin the murder on Ibarra's brother, Diego, saying that he did it. And in the one seen in the surveillance footage, the person seen in surveillance footage wasn't Jose. It was Diego. So now we're going to potentially have to pay after, even though his fingerprint was on the phone, his DNA was under her fingernails. They're saying that that's just faulty. Why is this guy still in our conversation? This guy needs to be taken care of in prison. And he's probably being protected. He's probably having, because of the high profile nature of the case, he's probably having extra security and extra privileges in prison. That's my guess. I'm horrified that he just hasn't gone out of our gone away, and we're never to hear his name again until his name pops up in the newspaper because somebody took care of him in prison. That's the only time this man's name should be in a headline again. And they're going to torture Lake and Riley's family again and again and again to give this criminal who never should have been here more rights than he should have. And I think Joe Biden is going to make sure to pardon Kamala and all of the elected officials who sanctuaried this guy in, because the immigration criminal law does say that if you induce and harbor and transport an illegal alien, and then those are all chargeable offenses. And then if that person hurts or kills anybody while they're here, you'll also be liable for that. So Kamala should be being charged with murder and assault and all of the 10 charges that he was charged with, plus should be charged with inducing him and harboring him and transporting him. So yeah, that's what's going on with the Lake and Riley case right now. And I can't imagine being her family and it's Christmas time and their baby girl was brutally murdered and they is now a household name. That's the biggest nightmare you could ever want ask for as a mother, to have something like this happen to your daughter. So we got to keep looking at this piece of garbage's face. All right, guys, I'm going to try to end on a positive note. How's this?
The do I have to do in this in order to get respect as a black woman?
Come on, Tanya.
What the
I was trying so hard to hear her say, what the F do I have to do to get some respect as a black woman? See, it makes me laugh every time, even in the face of absurdities like children being mutilated and Lake and Riley's murderer trying to get out of jail. Tanya Fernandez getting put into jail makes me smile. I like when the evil get what's coming for them. All right, guys, I'm getting out of here. Can you hear my voice? I'm still sick. I'm sore. I'm hoarse. I'm running out of steam. I am so happy that you came to join me tonight. God bless you and God bless America. Good night.